Women's once again, welcome to Rod Laver Arena for the evening 10 of the Australian Open 2023. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the light and sound show.
To be inducted into the Australian Tennis Hall of Fame is one of the greatest honours we can bestow on an athlete. Membership is limited exclusively to the top echelon of Australian players and to those who champion the game both on and off the court. This year's inductee won the Australian Singles Championships in 1922, 1924, 1925, the Australian Doubles Championships in 1924. He also won the Wimbledon Doubles Championships in 1922 and was a member of the Australian Davis Cup team 1920 to 1923 and then again in 1925. Please enjoy some of the memories from the family of James Uten Anderson, better known as J.O.
My partner, J.O. Anderson, a legend, but as a young child you didn't really comprehend the fact of what he'd actually done in his life.
It is 100 years in 1922 that he won the Australian Open and he also won Wimbledon doubles. He actually was on the Davis Cup team 5 times.
He was extremely well-mannered. It's probably, if you're going to write a book on a gentleman, start with J.O.
I think the nicknames came from the fraternity of tennis players overseas. The Greyhound, Gentleman Jim was another one, because if he missed a shot and his opponent did a good shot, he would actually congratulate them.
He had a part right down the middle and it was always pretty much straight and plastered down.
He had the longest arms, must have helped with his shots, for sure.
He was 6'4", but the most outstanding thing was his ability of what he could do with a racket and a ball. Amazing skills. Pa would have some great stories about some of the players he played with. His win against Bill Tilden, the great US tennis player who didn't have many losses. It was a gentleman's sport.
It was always long trousers, long sleeve shirt and whites, always whites. And when they started bringing in colours and bright colours and whatever, he did not like it at all.
That era, all of Australian tennis was serve volley. It was a fast, incredible game, and I think that's probably the best tennis you could ever watch.
Jo and Patterson were tennis partners, played Davis Cup on what was then the double bay tennis courts. They had a street called Patterson and a street called Anderson. It's a lovely tribute to Pa, and we're very proud of it.
Pa never treated his career as something that was super special. It was what he did. It was something that he loved. He did very well at it.
Tennis was his world, but he wasn't necessarily a person that boasted about any of it.
Yeah, I think he obviously knew he'd done extremely well, and I don't think people realised in that era how good he was.
Hearing about the induction, oh, I just got goosebumps. It's very special.
Joining me now to unveil the bust of James Outram Anderson are his grandchildren. Please welcome Jay Anderson, Brett Anderson, Susan McDonald, Lynn Schmidt, Erica Townsend, Maxine Devon and Greg Hopper. It is now time to induct J.O. Anderson into the Australian Tennis Hall of Fame. This bronze bust will take its place alongside the previous Australian Tennis Hall of Fame inductees in Garden Square here at Melbourne Park. And everyone here at Tennis Australia would like to congratulate the family of J.O. Anderson on his induction into the Australian Tennis Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Warm welcome to Melbourne, and another men's singles quarterfinal coming to you tonight with the 9-time champion Novak Djokovic up against Andrey Rublev, who is looking to do something for the very first time in his career, which is to make it through to the semi-finals of a major tournament. We are here in the sporting capital of the world, of course, host to this year's Australian Open, the Australian Formula One, the AFL Grand Final and the MotoGP. They love their sport, they love tennis, and the crowds have been record in attendance over the last 9 days. John Fitzgerald alongside me. John, what a day it's already been. It's seen 3 players already make their way through to the semi-finals.
It's getting serious.
It's getting very serious. It's not many days left for us to hang out together.
No, I'm getting depressed already, Mark. You're going to head back to that northern winter, and I'm going to stay here in the summer of Melbourne.
Sounds like I should be the one getting depressed.
Not at all. Look, every match here at the back end of the tournament you look forward to, don't you? I mean, there's so many diverse styles and approaches from these players, but when you have Novak on the court, it brings something. Well, it's unique. I mean, how do you play tennis this well is the question I always ask. And for a player that has to go against him, I'm not sure how much sleep they'd get the night before. Rublev is a heck of a player in his own right, but does he have the dimensions to go with Novak? Not normally.
Yeah, we're just on the edge of the Yarra River here, of course, famed for some of the gold that was found up at Warrandyte, 24 kilometres northeast here of Melbourne. But of course, it is Novak that has come to Melbourne to mine for silver, and 9 times he has been able to take it away with him, and there's not too many people betting on a 10th time as well. Of course, this is the beautiful Rod Laver Arena, of course, renamed back in January of 2000 after the legend who won 3 Australian Opens, but of course is more famed for winning the calendar Grand Slam twice. Originally known as the centre court, of course, there was an incredible amount of development around here. Of course, John Cain, the former premier, of course, one of the 3 courts here with a roof named after him now. He was the one that came up with the idea for a retractable roof so that it could be a stadium that can host other events. And of course, this has hosted other events as well. Things such as swimming and basketball, Commonwealth Games. It had the gymnastics here, and there's well, he's almost a gymnast himself, Novak, isn't he? And he's got a nice bit of motivation, hasn't he, Fitzy? The whole tournament here, when he sees his great rival there, just nicked him last year.
and we can tell by some of the goings on this tournament that all he needs is an inch of daylight. A little bit of rivalry takes him a long way. He remembers things. He knows in his mind, I think, that he wants to pay guys back in a way, in a nice way, but he wants to beat them badly sometimes, and he wants to set the records himself.
Yeah, but it's got a lovely sporting heritage, this city, hasn't it? Of course, 1956, it became the first city outside of North America or Europe to hold the Olympics. And there are many, many magical things about Melbourne, and it has proved to be a wonderful host and home to the Australian Open. Now, Craig Tiley, what a job he has done, and what a job he continues to do alongside his team that have grown this into the biggest and the best Australian Open that Fitzy and I and everybody else that has been working here have been fortunate enough to be a part of. Almost 100,000 people on one day on Saturday. It's an incredible growth rate, and credit to everybody that has invested their time, particularly, as we always say, given the pandemic in 2020 and coming back out the other side of it. But it's been a city full of innovation. This was where the Melbourneian Dr. David Warren, of course, invented the black box. There was a fact that maybe you didn't know.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that. Of course, sadly, it was inspired because his father died in a plane crash. But they have invented, and they have grown, and they have become one of the biggest cities in the world. It's also a very safe city here as well, of course. Fitzy, you live here.
It is.
It's the first city in the world that ever enforced the seatbelts as well.
Well, not just safe for that reason, but there's the great man. I get a little tear in my eye every time I see Rod. He lives in California, we know that. He's the Rockhampton Rocket from the middle of Queensland on the coast. Grew up there as a little boy. And there's my other hero, Ken Rosewall. What a pleasure to see him here. Living on the Gold Coast now. He's from Sydney. The Queen, has his image on it, on one side of it, when they tossed the coin here this year. Two of the great players we've ever seen, who in the early 70s had a couple of the greatest matches against each other we've ever seen in WCT tennis, World Championship tennis. Lamar Hunt's troop back then.
And how we've grown from those days to what we have, and the players that are playing tonight and the fans that are here tonight have been carried on the shoulders of those legends of the past, such as Rod and Cain, and certainly didn't do it for the riches that the players are playing for these days, but they are being remembered for their own individual greatness and for what this sport has become, as we see the first signs of Novak.
There's Frank Sedgman there going past in the wheelchair. He's in his 90s now, Frank. And that's Ken Rosewall. That's the image. I bet that's a backhand he was hitting.
Slice on the line.
He doesn't know he's on the camera there. There he is.
He would have troubled Hawkeye with his accuracy every time, wouldn't he?
They said he used to hit the net tape deliberately to get a let cord.
Well, this guy,
I don't know if that's true.
This guy's not too bad on that front either, is he? He's got some accuracy. It's going to be a tough evening for Rublev to find some solutions to the problems that Novak poses every single time as he takes a walk down here. Novak for obviously the 13th time in a quarterfinal at the Australian Open, just a second time for Andrey Rublev as he walks past Ken Rosewall's name there. A couple of titles, John Newcombe, another legendary Aussie, and just time after time they are reminded of just how difficult it is to win a major, but also what happens when you do. Your name up in lights. For some, this moment is the pinnacle, as it has been for Rublev so far. For others, it's the preamble to further challenges and potential championships, and that's what Novak will be thinking as he walks past his former coach's name, Andre Agassi, and his great rival. He was inspired in the last round, and we can't wait to watch the 9-time champion again.
Quarterfinals on Rod Laver Arena. Please welcome the tournament 5th seed, Andrey Rublev. And their opponent, tournament 4th seed, Novak Djokovic.
He is the man to beat in these parts, and he has won 21 out of his last 22 matches against top 10 players, which is what he's up against tonight in the shape of Andrey Rublev. Let's take a little look at the draw as well and see that they are the last place that is waiting. What a tournament for Tommy Paul. Fantastic from the American, a really good contest. Ben Shelton fighting to the absolute end there, and it bodes well for his future. But happy for Tommy, and of course Brad Stein, who's a member of our team here. Ashenov against Tsitsipas in the top half of the draw as well. Opportunities galore, as there have been all through this tournament, although Novak casts a long shadow over the rest of the competitors that are still left in, Fitzy.
Well, he does, and I've seen all these matches here and a lot of tennis during this fortnight, and I have no doubt that his level has been higher than everyone else I've seen. So if he keeps reproducing that, he's the toughest by far here to beat.
Novak, Preston, Novak.
Andrey Rublev just asking.
Gentlemen, before we start, can we have a photo with Preston, please? Facing the cameras. There we go.
Wow.
Okay, Preston, you come out, and just the 2 players. You come here, Press. Well done, mate. Okay. Yeah. So, gentlemen, the same format as your last matches. Any questions? Nope. So, what we got, Preston? Ken Rosewall or AO? AO. Okay. Ken Rosewall. Serve. Okay. Have a good match. Good match.
You'd have to pick Ken Rosewall, wouldn't you?
I would have thought so. It's not like, yeah, I would have gone there as well myself. But anyway, there he is.
That's Jane Herdlicker, the president of Tennis Australia, on our left, on Ken's right. And we all have a very soft spot for muscles.
And of course, that's one of the interesting things about you, Aussies, isn't it? You don't call him Muscles because he was strong. You didn't call Rocket because he was fast.
Well, you've got to involve double entendres, isn't that?
Well, you are a nation that is top of that list, and it's brilliant. I love it. When you first find that fact out, your head just shakes. You think, wow, all these years I just thought it was because Rod was the fastest man on 2 legs, but no, it wasn't. But this man, Fitzy, arguably could be decided that he is the fastest man on 2 legs, Novak, but he's up against a guy that hits the ball hard. But interestingly, when you look at some of the numbers from the tournament coming into this match, and you know, facts are stubborn things, as we see his bio there, is Novak's actually hitting the ball harder than Rublev, and I wouldn't have had that at the start of the tournament.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Well, his timing is such, Djokovic, he does it with supposed ease. This man bludgeons the ball. You know he's hitting it hard. And whenever he gets a forehand, he doesn't hold back. Even a half volley, he just smashes it as hard as he can. Sometimes I think he could temper his pace on the ball a little bit. It might increase his margin for error a little bit, but that's just not in his nature.
Novak, who's played the most top 10 players ever in the Open era as well. You've seen his stats so many times now, but he has played more top 10ers in the Open era than anyone else and has the best winning record. That is something, isn't it? That is elite. He sits around 68% of the time he wins. 241 won, 107 lost. And the next closest, Nadal at 288. It was it's super impressive how he goes up against the very best, and more often than not comes out on top. As we take a look at their head-to-head there, of course, they played a couple of times on hard when Novak has won comfortably, dropping just the 5 games. The Belgrade match that some of you may have seen or are unaware of happened last year, of course, at home at Novak's tournament. It was the final. It was a tough week for Novak. He was just coming back. He wasn't well before Monte Carlo. He had an illness, and it continued through Belgrade. He actually did incredibly well to get to the final. Had a medical timeout after taking the second set on a breaker and seemed to come out with nothing left, and Rublev ran away with that third set 6-love. I wouldn't read too much into that personally. It's Rublev's best surface by some margin as well. Rublev, though, coming off the first win he's ever had against a top 10er at the Australian Open. So we're at a stage now. I think Wally's courtside. Are you courtside, Wally? Welcome. Thanks for coming along. If you're there. If you're having some IT problems, I can always lend a hand by hitting the box as hard as possible.
Mitch, I just hit microphone on, which I think has helped enormously. Microphone on. I was struggling to find my glasses. I was hitting the wrong button, but here I am. Good crowd in, obviously. Plenty of energy. Rublev is just crushing the ball in the warm-up, almost like he's trying to make a statement, but Novak was standing up to that pretty well.
He's been known to push a few buttons, Wally.
Yeah.
You know.
Wally, okay, give me a quick synopsis. If you were coaching Rublev, what would you like to see from him tonight? We know the problems, we know the proposition. What would you like to see?
Well, I guess I go back to those 2 hardcourt matches that you referred to, Pedge, where obviously Novak won pretty easily. Look, I don't know. It's best of 5 sets. Does Rublev, I'm not sure it's in his nature to play slightly more measured and try to extend the rallies and win by attrition, test out that hamstring. I'm not sure that's in his nature. Some people have said that he is playing a little more two-dimensionally at times, moving forward more often. I'm not sure that's going to trouble Novak necessarily. I'm not sure he does it well enough. I just go back to the fact, I think you've just got to play, don't play Novak, just play the ball that you get. And basically, if the unforced errors mount, you're going to go down. So it's measured tennis from Rublev, and maybe he's just got to be a little bit more patient than he normally is against Novak on this surface.
Yep, I mean, all the stats, everything from past history tends to lead to a future that looks very good for Novak Djokovic here in this quarterfinal match. He's looking to extend a 9-match winning streak against top 10ers. His last defeat coming against Nadal in the quarters of Roland Garros last year as well. The best have been coming up against him, and he's been seeing them off fairly comfortably in recent times as well. His last loss to a top tenner coming here against the wonderful Stan Wawrinka in the quarterfinals back in 2014.
Maybe Rublev just has to hit the ball harder than he normally hits it and go the other way. But who knows? I mean, the odds are against you when you go against Djokovic, and you have to just hit the ball as well as you can if you're Rublev, and hit as many in as you can and see if you can build some points.
Ready for play. Seats, quickly please.
Always a buzz, always anticipation. Sold out tonight. Big ticket prices as well here at Rod Laver Arena.
Ready.
9-time champion to kick us off.
Wally, I'm keen to know how much wind is there, because this afternoon's match, it was very calm.
No, Fitzy, it's funny, just as you said that, the wind has sprung up and it's at Rublev's back, so I suspect.
Wally, I'm keen to know how much wind is there, because this afternoon's match, it was very calm.
No, Fitzy, it's funny, just as you said that, the wind has sprung up and it's at Rublev's back, so I suspect it's actually coming from the opposite direction, hitting the back of the stadium and coming down the court from Rublev's end as we speak.
Forward.
Well, I've done a couple of his earlier matches here, Rublev, at this Open, and one of the days was very windy. He didn't perform as well in the wind, I didn't think. When it was really sedate conditions, flat calm, he was better.
Fourth ace of the tournament for Novak. I'd like to see Rublev start this match a little further back, to be honest. I'd like to see him work the points early on. I'm not saying that that's going to be necessarily a way that he's going to ultimately win the match, but just to get himself into a quarterfinal. He's never been past this stage. He's lost all 6 quarterfinals that he's played previously. Novak early on will certainly serve a few into that forehand wing to keep his backhand open for Djokovic as the match goes through.
Djokovic.
Well, that was interesting. What was that look for from? That was from Rublev looking up at Djokovic's camp there to the left. Or maybe it was above Djokovic's camp, but he certainly was distracted by something. This is one thing, Fitzy, I think he's got to be careful of tonight, is he's being too predictable with his second serve into that backhand side of Novak. I know the pace isn't there off the backhand side from Novak on the two-hander compared to the forehand, but if it's that predictable, he's going to hit an awful lot of backhands as his first shot after his serve against Novak.
Yeah, and if it's the same serve all the time, you don't give a great champion anything to think about. So a bit of variety, I think, is necessary, and he's got to take some risks. Look, he serves well. His first serve is very effective, and if he can get a forehand on his first ground stroke, the serve +1 we talk about,
Rublev to serve.
then he's got to try and hurt Djokovic with that first one. We know that's what he'll do, but it's imperative that he does so. He looks... Does he look a little bit sort of, I don't know, negative in his body language early on? He looks a bit disconsolate to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just a serious nature.
Spectacular rally, and what I have to say, the win looks quite substantial.
Yeah, it was funny. Pretty much when Fitzy mentioned it, it just sprung up. So you kind of think a breeze coming up the bay has sort of hit the back of the stadium, and it's making a difference. You could notice there he was just clubbing the ball there, Rublev, and Novak seemed to have plenty of time, particularly that backhand slice, just to get behind it and guide it. Sort of wondering from that end that Rublev is at, you know, it's not as though he's about to employ a short slice or a drop shot necessarily, but could be effective down this end, the Rublev end.
Well, that's what he wants, and if he doesn't get a free point on the first serve, he would still like a lot of first serve returns to come back short, so he can use that forehand.
He wants to go nuclear. Look at that, almost 10% more points won when he can go that big as well. Obviously, some of that related to the serve, but he's going to have to swing. He's going to have to take risk.
40-15.
That's the problem for me, is how he starts second serve points. Too often he's going to have to start it hitting his backhand. He almost looked like he tried to redirect there. He's going to go cross-court about 80% of the time with that backhand when Novak fires it in there off that particular return. So Novak knows where the next shot is going to go more often than not. Can you believe it? Another Houdini moment for Djokovic.
And already it incorporates some... Well, it makes Rublev sort of react negatively here, because he should have put that away. But it's the defensive skills amongst everything else that Djokovic possesses that just makes you play another ball. And this is frustrating. You're up early in the game, you want to put it away, and now you've got to fight for your life again. Constant pressure.
This is when Novak kind of knows what's coming and knows what he wants to achieve before it even happens. Second serve in the backhand line, Rublev cross. Novak nudges one up through the middle of the court to get out of that exchange.
And I know we're early days, but even a game like this can leave a little scar. You know, Rublev should have been 1-1 on the board, a little bit of relief. If he goes down an early break, it just compounds this negative approach sometimes you find yourself in against this great player.
two legends think of anybody that moved in a similar way to Novak when you guys were playing, with the flexibility that he has?
Nope.
No, I can't. My memory's failing me a little bit these days, Mark, but no. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever been as flexible as this on a tennis court, have they? I don't know of a person that has been.
But it's one thing to be flexible, but to then power out of a full lunge, it's just incredible how he does it.
That's rare. And that's like gold if you're playing against Novak. That doesn't happen too often, that free point. Take advantage of it if you can.
Rublev. One game on.
He's not always been massively happy playing in sort of windy conditions, has he? Novak, 2012 at the US Open, he was in the middle of his match playing Ferrer, and obviously that got halted when the conditions got tough. He is not necessarily will be loving these. No one loves playing in the wind, to be fair. Might just be the one unknown that we hadn't picked coming into this that may help Rublev.
I think Rublev, you know, we're picking at straws a little bit, but he's got to use his backhand down the line too, I think, and take a risk on that ball. He relies heavily on his forehand, but if Djokovic is hanging a little bit wide to his backhand side, Rublev has to use his two-handed down the line. Take a bit of risk, see if he can hit a few winners there. And at the very least, open the court up a little bit.
That's enough.
There's always this philosophy against Novak, you feel, with a lot of players, that they need to take his time away. But with his length on the ball, particularly as what he's been saying, the wind's coming from behind Novak's back, very difficult to stay up on the baseline and actually take it as early. I almost feel like you need to retreat a little bit to give yourself a little extra time. Well, that was a little concerning, if I'm going to be honest. After he finished his first serve, he definitely didn't look that comfortable on his leg, as we see Novak's team, and then he took an awfully long time to hit his second serve, and then looked uncomfortable after that as well. Well, he said there was no problems with the hamstring after his last match against Alex de Minaur. That is just amazing. Well, he's saying he got a little lucky. I think he may just be apologising for being that good, to be honest. That was incredible turnaround in that one rally. Djokovic 2-1. Yeah, Manovic on the right of your picture, coming back into the team, working for a few weeks. He's not necessarily going to be around forever, as we see something getting taken out to Novak out there. Claudio Maglia as well, who has come into the team. He's been working with a few players, most recently with Brandon Nakashima, worked with Raonic and Sinner before. He split surprisingly with Ashleigh Barty at the start of the year. That was unusual, because he's certainly been loyal to a number of them. Of course, his agent there, Eduardo, and his partner Elena have been around ever since Novak signed with Sergio Tacchini, who Eduardo was working for. But is there any issues with his leg that wasn't there the other night against the Australians?
Take your seats quickly, please. Thank you.
Well, this is the end of that third game. What, did you get a sense that he was feeling a little discomfort there, or was that me just reading a little too much into things?
No, I'm a bit like you, Petch. There was actually a return. So Rublev went big down the centre tee. Novak shanked it a little, and he did a bit of a hop, skip and a jump just to sort of settle himself after the miss.
As quick as you can,
and then,
please.
you know, when you watch
Ladies
that slow-mo of all of the load that goes through his front leg and that hamstring,
Players
when he
ready.
serves,
Thank
and there's
you.
a couple of moments there in between that first and the second, so definitely looks like a bit of discomfort, maybe a fraction of doubt. We'll find out. This is actually the end I'm keen to see how Rublev goes, because he doesn't have anywhere near the margin of Novak, and he just thrashes the ball, and with the wind at your back, that's not always easy.
There's Eduardo up on the right, Marco, his brother, front left.
For service. Dino.
Rublev, who can get very hot, won 5 titles in 2020, won 23 matches in a row. Win streak last year in February and March as well, did Rublev.
He seems to be going to Rublev's forehand
15.
more than I would have normally thought. Not worrying about trying to hit it across to the backhand. He did on that occasion, but quite often when he's got a choice, he's going back to the Rublev forehand. Maybe he feels he's more dangerous, Andrey, when he backs away, and he probably is.
40-15.
Fitzy, I almost think it's a case of just hitting the ball back where it came from. Rublev is absolutely striping it with the wind at his back, so I think Novak's playing a little safe. Just hitting back through the line.
That's where I'd like to see him swing one out wide.
40-13.
Nice quick second serve just to keep Novak honest for sort of the juice points or potential break points on that side when he misses a first serve.
But he can go there, Rublev.
He can, he rarely does.
Return serve that was, and I'm not sure which was better, the first shot or the second shot, but that was a heavy kick serve from Rublev. Very good serve, and He had to stretch for it, Djokovic, but what a shot he hit off it to put Rublev on the defensive, and was forced to play the lower percentage forehand down the line, and he's good enough. I bet Rublev can't believe he lost that point in 2 hits.
Advantage Rublev.
Good solid serve there. 200 case from Rublev, fastest of the tournament, 211. He's lost that in 2 hits as well.
And on the outside of the line. Do you think he aims for the outside of the line?
I don't think.
Or do you think he aims like most of us, 2 meters inside the line? Well, not 2 meters, but it almost looks like he aims for the line, which is sort of mind-boggling.
Well, he's certainly trying to break the forehand down, isn't he? And great players are capable of doing that, aren't they? What mere mortals fear, those like Novak don't.
It's like having more time than most athletes and having more vision. And the line probably looks big to him. Gee, it looks small to me.
Well, he tried to put some extra depth on that second serve, but it was the same place it was going into the Novak backhand, and the double fault comes.
Djokovic leads.
Yeah, he doesn't usually offer up too many of those, Rublev.
Well, I'm not convinced that his body language is quite as positive as it normally would be, Andre. He looks like he's, you know, well, not beaten at the start. Of course he's not, but he looks a little down to me.
Yeah, look, he's a bit like a cat on a hot tin roof. He's sort of muttering, and a couple of these points that Novak's turned around in his favour, he sort of can't believe it. Certainly not comfortable.
15.
Well, I think, you know, all of us, when you play someone that you actually know is better than you, it's a fairly daunting thought process. You've just got to try and stay with them as long as you can, and then maybe get an opportunity, or maybe they won't. They'll put in a bad game.
But I'll just go back to the fact that Rublev, he lost that game with the wind at his back, and I know he served a double and he got out in front of one forehand, but he's so fully committed to every shot, and sometimes with the breeze at your back, you just need a little more subtlety. Novak certainly got it.
And this is what we were talking about in terms of being able to sort of break down an opponent's strength. A Rublev forehand occasionally has been coming up trumps off that return on the wide side, but Novak will happily take that occasional loss for the greater gain.
I like that play. Well, why not? You know, it's not a vicious second serve from Novak. It's a good one, but it's not big enough to stop Rublev, you think, attacking it at times, and that was an excellent backhand down the line to get Novak on the wrong foot.
Reminds me a lot of how Federer used to play David Ferrer as well. When you watch Novak take on a big forehand as well, Ferrer served the forehand, the return often comes in a little bit shorter. They miss more returns off their forehand side because they're going for more backhand, more stable. It always sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it's genius.
Okay.
And then you flip one out wide. And life is very pleasant between the lines for Novak Djokovic here in Melbourne once again. 4-1.
Djokovic leads by 4 games to 1.
And as much as I know that we all can eulogise and we admire Novak, I will say again, one of the big places tonight that Rublev was going to lose this match was on his second serve. And Novak is somebody that digs deep into the data. He's got a friend that has a data company that he looks at all the patterns of his opponent. I feel in a situation where you've picked up 5 games in 2 matches on a hard court, if you don't come out here in the opening kind of 6 games and do something that isn't in that data, you're going to be behind the 8 ball straight away. I just don't think you can hit the same shots that he knows are coming. As great as that second serve was at 40-30, Novak knew it was coming. And if he knows it's coming, he is going to hurt you.
As quick as you can, please, ladies and gentlemen. Time.
Just having to dig through some stuff today. Got the morning off, which was very nice. Did watch a bit of tennis, but I always love looking at sort of the big 4 stats, but in particular I was looking a little look at Novak's record at Grand Slam. So this is his 63rd major, and he has made the final 32 times.
Players are ready.
50% of the time he plays a major, he's in the final. I mean, that is an incredible strike rate. Nadal, 66 slams, 30 times in the final, not far behind. I mean, it's incredible to think.
Such a good rally from Novak, but what's interesting, you know, Novak's racket head speed changed 3 or 4 times over the course of that rally, you know. Lower ball, slightly slower, higher trajectory, bit of room to work with, he smacked it. And Rublev doesn't have that. He's got 1 year. Warp speed.
Yeah, it's at about 8,000 revs, isn't it? When you want to park the car, it's tough at 8,000 revs.
Yeah, and that's the only way you can go, isn't it? It's hard, harder, hardest.
Yep. Yep. And as good as he is at that one facet of his game, there's no doubt that, you know, versatility. I mean, Novak can match him there, and then he's got all these other options. But as they say, he's not on his Pat Malone. He's not on his own when it comes to... thought as an Anglo-Saxon you might enjoy that.
You do.
He's not the only guy that has trouble with his stuff. So does everybody else. But he looks a bit disconsolate to me, you know.
Fernando Vicente, his long-time coach there, good player in his own right. Carlo Blanco, an even better player than Fernando Vicente, of course, works with Cosmos, looking after Rublev these days. Andrei Stad's still here, actually. He was here early in the week, of course. Former boxer, restaurant manager. Mum, of course, a coach.
His first serve has been good this tournament. You've got to give him that. Even when the wind was blowing in the 3rd round, he served well.
Every single point. Every single point. I'm not happy.
Thank you.
His ability to dissect the singles line with those kind of three-quarter length balls off both sides proves so problematic for his opponents. And again, good use of the wind here from Novak. He's definitely not hitting the ball as hard from this end. He's using the wind.
Oh, Wally would be happy. Take a bit off it. Use a bit of guile.
Advantage, Djokovic. Juice. Advantage, Djokovic. Juice.
He's got to capitalise on that. Rublev, who's having a long conversation up there with his coach at the moment. Early doors to be going to plan B, 31 minutes in.
He doesn't quite seem locked in to me, though, Rublev. He's not hustling, I don't feel like he normally does. Maybe I'm wrong, Wally. I'm keen to hear what you think after this game, maybe.
I mean, maybe the match against Rinus just taken that much out of him emotionally that he's a bit flat here at the start.
Juice. Advantage, Djokovic.
What accuracy there.
Magnificent.
He hits the ball into a small area better than anyone that's ever played, I think.
Djokovic leads by 5-1.
I mean, how good was that shot? And the thing about the great players as well is their discipline. They can hit a winner off that. He could have hit that 160 Ks if he wanted to, but he knew the best way and his greater percentage way of winning that point was to do what he did.
He didn't have to over-risk. But the ability to hit into a small space is it's quite enlightening, really.
Thank you. Players are ready.
It's like a surgeon watching him use the scalpel. Although I've never seen that happen.
15 left.
Thoughts, Wally?
Well, I'll keep going back to a guy playing with a breeze at his back and just the skill set that he has to shape the racket head around the ball to get a result. Rublev doesn't have it.
shame he finished in the net, because that was an incredible couple of shots from Novak. It was. Yep.
15 all.
I don't blame Rublev for that. I mean, honestly, couldn't have hit a better return. And he's got the guy at the net 1 shot later, just ready to hit a little drop shot.
He got a little bit cute there, didn't he? He took it a bit easy, really, in the end, I think, Novak. Gee. Am I allowed to stand up here and start applauding or not?
30-15.
I mean, if you know what you're looking at here and you see this accuracy, it boggles my mind how he can do that. And Rublev is showing that with his reaction afterwards. How's that possible, he's thinking? Oh, don't tell me. Was that a miss-hit?
He meant to do it, Fitzy.
No, I haven't seen one since last year from him. He meant to do it, did Wally say, yeah.
He's just not letting him hit forehands out of the backhand side, is he?
30-14.
And of course, part of that is strategy is allowed to happen because of his movement into his backhand side and how aggressive he can be on his two-hander cross court. First break point for Rublev.
Juice.
Only been broken 3 times in the tournament, Novak.
Advantage, Rublev. Juice.
Actually quite good drill that, to land on your one leg and hold your balance. You know, you put the ball toss in the right place. Well, he deserved it for his anticipation.
But see, Andrey there didn't hit the smash accurately. He hit it hard.
Advantage, Djokovic.
And it's not enough. You've got to hit with direction here. He just hammers it as hard as he can, but he hit it straight to Djokovic, and that last pass just got a little bit of luck, but hey, when you're that good, you make your own.
Thank you.
Set point.
Game in first sets, Djokovic.
40 minutes it took for Djokovic once again to underline how difficult it is to beat him here in Melbourne. 6-1. Well, some tricky conditions out there in terms of the wind, but Novak not looking as though he's going to get blown off course. Rublev with it all to do now if he is going to stop this man from reaching his 44th career Grand Slam semi-final. That would put him just a couple behind Roger Federer as well, as he's asking for the drink or powder or something else that is going to keep him nice and fresh. But it isn't going to be an arduous task if things continue the way they do. The onus very much here on Andrey Rublev to come up with something different. And the question is really, Fitzy, is he pliable enough to come up with a different strategy? Has he got enough repertoire in his game?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't mean to be, you know, a wise guy for saying that. He doesn't have the versatility that Djokovic does. No one does. But his best tennis is bludgeoning the ball from the back of the court, and he's awfully good at that. But when he's made to play an extra couple of dimensions against Novak, a lot of the time he doesn't have it. And like Wally said, he doesn't have the finesse and the feel to take a bit of speed off the ball when he's with the wind, for instance. So it's not meant to be a criticism. It's just reality.
All rise in the Djokovic box as the 9-time king here of Melbourne takes the opening set. Be his 10th semi-final here in Australia as well. Jack Crawford had 11, Federer with 15.
Just pay attention to what he's saying. I don't mind if he's supporting him, but he hasn't been commenting 3-4 times in a row. He's saying things to provoke me. That's what I'm saying. Please, just pay attention.
Novak just having a quiet word there with James Kyothomong about some fan that's probably saying a few negative things. Hopefully that gets sorted out nice and quickly. We don't need any of that.
Well, there's a guy behind where Novak is now, and he keeps saying, send him home, Rublev, send him home. And he's, throughout that first set, he was pretty constant.
Needs to get better banter.
As quick as you can, please. Thank you.
First serve is going to be absolutely vital here for Rublev tonight. The differential between the two is substantial. He's got one of the biggest differences in pace of average first serve compared to his second. And that's one of the quickest serves that he's hit, not just tonight, but in the tournament. 2:11, as I say, top speed. That one coming in at 2:09. This is a clean start potentially here.
Yeah. 14-15. Game, Rublev.
Great start, no missed first serves. And a good reaction to the loss of the opening set there. Well, that is certainly going to aid his chances if he can find that kind of number of first serves as the set goes on. Obviously, that's going to be impossible to continue to do, but second serve has been, as expected, coming in here to be the liability for Rublev. But he can't hide it forever. losses at quarter-final stage. The last one coming, of course, to Francis Tiafoe at the US Open last year in straight sets. First one coming to Nadal at the Open in 2017. Picked up just 5 games against the Spaniard there. He's lost a couple of times to Medvedev. Once at the Open, once here in 2021. Closest he came to getting through to semis, of course, against Marin Cilic at Roland Garros last year. Lost 7-6 in the final set.
Well, if he could get up a break for something different, it might inject him with some adrenaline. Well, he usually plays with adrenaline because he hits the ball so hard, but it might inject him with some more enthusiasm and positivity just to try and get a couple of games ahead. And that depth helps. It's got to be the wind, Wally.
Yeah, definitely. There was a slight miss hit from Rublev, but it just shows you, normally he'd hit that at warp speed, but the slight miss hit in the slower, lower ball paid dividends. Novak was doing a pretty good job up until that point, but that final forehand just didn't carry at all. Rublev needs to practice with Adrian Manarino and just grab about 5% of what he's got and just incorporate it into his game. But Novak's antsy too. He's not enjoying the wind. I mean, it's not that bad, to be honest, for Australia, but he's not enjoying it.
Sometimes I think his ball toss, if there's a tiny error, it says his ball toss seems to get a bit low, but then he makes it when you least expect. But with the wind blowing behind his back, it's probably dropping on him. Probably dropping a bit lower than normal, is it?
Well, I think it's, yep, lower, but he throws it a little too far out in front. The wind's just carrying it out in front of him, and then, of course, he's got to almost bend from the waist as opposed to staying up tall through contact.
There's the backhand down the line, and it gives him a chance to open up the court. Juice for that big forehand, this one.
He's played in some rough semi-finals, hasn't he, over the years at Grand Slams. That one I said about in 2012 against Ferreira at the US Open in the semis, which they actually halted because they thought the hurricane was coming. Of course, they were ridiculous conditions in 2019 that he played the Austrian in. What a brilliant serve that is, and again, something that he's incorporated into his game over the years as well.
Cain, Djokovic.
There's another big second serve at 176 coming in from Novak. And that's something that Rublev doesn't do. I felt before this match it was going to be a battle of the second serves, and Novak's going to win that hands down. He's winning currently at the moment. A nice 67% of the points in this second set so far. Up winning this particular point.
But look at the difference there. When Rublev's in trouble, he hits it at warp speed, so he barely gives himself any time to get back in the point. When Novak was in trouble there, he just floated it slow and deep, and then he's right where he wants to be.
It's a seriously good one-dimensional game, isn't it? Well, let me say two-dimensional. But it doesn't have the same dimensions that the opposition has. Good enough to be 6th in the world at the moment, though, Petch.
Yeah.
15-13.
But while Novak's around, it won't be good enough to win.
Correct. That's his favourite serve, I think, and he's used that to great value in this tournament so far. It saved him a few times in that quarter-final and, excuse me, in the round of 16.
Well, a little more body on the serve there. Novak couldn't fade beforehand, and it allowed Rublev to get his forehand into play. Look at this. This is what Novak does to so many players out there. I know he's angry and he's shouting his box right now, but look at that. Tournament so far, Rublev, first shot after his second serve, over 50%. Tonight, he is down at barely over 20% that he gets to use his favourite shot. That's a massive hole for Rublev. Breathes life into this contest here in Melbourne. It's 2-1.
Rublev leads by 2-1.
That's a great serving so far in this set as well. There's just a couple of first serves hitting.
Is he angrier on the court than he used to be?
Rublev?
No.
Novak. Not really, I don't think. I think at certain times when he's frustrated, he was frustrated there. The 2 second serves he got in that game, one was an off backhand return that he obviously wanted to change up the direction with, because you can't hit it every single time to Rublev's backhand. And I think he's just frustrated he wasn't able to break through.
But what is it with human nature that, I don't know, has a crack at your team? Because I don't get it. I never have.
I guess the quest for perfection at times.
I guess so. I guess he's a perfectionist.
Take your seats quickly, please. Thank you.
Big forehand from Rublev. Djokovic obviously a little unhappy that he wasn't able to carve out.
Ready for play.
Not always the best seat in the house, that.
No. No, you can have that one.
15 love.
191.
And I think he goes for that second serve more and more too, doesn't he? I mean, or is it my imagination? He seems to hit that as a first serve much more now than, I don't know, several years ago.
Yeah, 3 years he's been basically honing that particular skill. His fastest second serve of the tournament, 196.
Led for service.
Actually doesn't often go as quick down the tee with that second serve on the due side. It's normally out wide with the slice.
Versatility of his skill sets, Wally.
We talked about it last night when Tsitsipas was playing, you know, the best players are the best defenders. I was actually quite happy there because Rublev played the high lob with a modicum of restraint. But then he couldn't help himself on the next one.
Conditions are very interesting in terms of backhands played. That was just the 6th backhand that Novak's played from the end that he's at right now compared to 33 at the other end. Obviously working harder against the wind to get his forehand into play so that he can drive the ball back and not allow Rublev too much time on the ball. Quite happy to use that slice up the other end and just kind of keep the ball low and float it on the wind.
Cain, Djokovic.
Decent half volley.
Extraordinary shot that was.
It was a full-blooded drive. Incredible.
Yeah, no normal player can hit that.
And again, if you know Rublev's patterns, you know you can kind of cover the cross court, but to come up with that.
What do you call that shot, by the way? It wasn't a half volley. It wasn't a full backhand drive, was it? Maybe it was a hybrid of everything.
And guys, we've just been talking, I mean, Petch, you just said it, Novak's been honing that skill on building pace on that second serve and going for it. And, you know, you think about Rafa and all the little adjustments he's made over the course of his career to become better, and I think it's not being critical of Andrey Rublev. He's still young, you know, there's still a lot of tennis left ahead of him, but it's just suggesting that maybe there's got to be some plan in his practice to evolve, to work on things.
To get better. And I think that's the journey, isn't it? You know, most champions, and he is one, Rublev, but most champions are always striving to become better.
How good was that return?
Yeah. And I think you're right, Wally. Andrey can get better if he shows a bit more versatility, and imagine then what he'd be like.
Let's for service.
But he's playing the most evolved player around at the moment.
Love 14.
And oh so quickly and easily.
But, you know, even with the wind at your back, just throw a real high, three-quarter heavy first serve in, just for a change-up, so you can get it up and over Novak's shoulder. Use the breeze.
Well, he shuffled a little more coal on the bonfire in the previous returning game against Rublev, and now he finds himself with 2 break points. just too good at the end of the day. Djokovic absolutely deadly out here at the moment. A set 3-2.
3 games to 2.
And that's the problem, isn't it? Again, you go long, you end up in that kind of exchange, and you end up on the back foot. Rublev actually tried to play a little borderless tennis there. He was inside the baseline with the forehand down the line, and Novak caught him under his shoelaces with a beautiful reply against the wind. Wally, you got some thoughts, I can tell.
Well, I've it a few, but it's interesting. Fitzy was talking about the accuracy of Novak, you know, and I think if you plan to hit the ball as close to the line, if it was a really conscious decision, you couldn't execute it as well as he does. I think there's just been so many years of meaningful practice that it's almost subconscious, and there's so much trust in his technique and his balance. He just finds these incredible parts of the court at pace.
Time.
Well, it's another masterclass here. James Gotham, I'm not sure how many languages he speaks, but Novak must be around 7 at the moment. He's learning a couple of new ones as well. As for Rublev, as Novak gets out of his chair, just about to bypass it there at the change of ends. That's how focused he was. That's usually my chair. What are you doing in my chair?
Thank you. Players are ready.
Rublev will need to try and dig deep here and try and rebound relatively quickly. Another arm wrestle that Novak comes out on top.
Hitting on.
The wind playing havoc.
Yeah, I mean, that actually drifted forward, didn't it? That was incredible how much that got hold of the ball there. That made that shot difficult. But what an incredible rally by both these two players in these conditions right now.
It's also the wind pushing that ball toss forward. That's why he looks so awkward there at the end.
It's one of those little moments in the match where you'd like to see Rublev be a little braver with his direction on the return there. 90% of the time he's going to go cross-court with that backhand return, and Novak's waiting. Had he gone down the line, who knows? Maybe he could have pushed through and got a couple of break points. But Novak's so astute and so determined right now to consolidate the break he's just gained.
Just letting the wind get to him a little bit. It's annoying. It's tough playing in the wind. You've got to treat it as your friend, not your enemy.
It's actually not that bad, Fitzy. Like,
right.
It's not gusty.
So he's a little antsy.
Yeah, it's fairly consistent. And you're dead right about the ball toss. He's throwing it about a foot too far in front. He just lacks the ability then to cover it with any sort of spin. Hits it with a fairly flat racket face, losing his margin. Just needs to keep it up in front of his eyes, stay tall.
Advantage, Rublev.
Not the first time in his career we've seen those acrobatics out of a backhand.
No, it's like a little jig, isn't it?
Thank you.
It's like line dancing.
I'll take your word for it.
Sort of.
It's hypnotic watching him move on a tennis court, isn't it? Rublev has thrown everything at him. That was some of the finest hitting of the evening from Rublev, and he finds himself back at deuce. Incredible.
I'm enjoying this competitive surge from Rublev. It's good to watch. He's lifted his game.
Thank you.
He's hitting the ball so positively.
Players are ready. Thank you. Please.
Trying to take the great man on.
Would be 20 consecutive wins here at the Australian Open if he beats Rublev today.
Yes, only exceptions. Amazing.
He is a capricious character, no question about that, Rublev.
Djokovic.
He loiters on the edge of the internal volcano pretty much every single time he steps onto a tennis court. Understandably frustrated. Desperate to get back on level terms.
Djokovic.
And after the defiance, a bit of subtlety, and Novak moves ahead 4-2.
And there it is, Petch. Subtlety, 1-4-8. Toss the ball up with the wind at your back. It jumps up, it's a different look. And I haven't seen that once from Rublev tonight.
On a moody evening here, it's a moody Rublev. It's 21 degrees. The wind has gone up about 5 k's since we started this match out here.
Please.
Djokovic adapting. Brutal efficiency is the name of the game for Rublev.
I'm enjoying this though. He at least he's laying it on the line as much as he can, isn't he? But then it's a fine line.
30-15.
Whether you actually step over it with the way you hit the ball.
I don't know what Cain and Rod are thinking, sitting in the front row, just watching the arm speed of Rublev and the power.
Notice while he's on first name terms with Cain and Rod, he pretends so. There they are. Gotta love them, eh?
Well, Fitzy, normally I'd say Muscles and Rocket, but then I'd know you wouldn't know which one I was talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we're always name dropping when we're telling people we know them. But Petch, we actually do. How good's that?
There's that play again. Second serve straight in there. Backhand return, fired into the Rublev backhand. And he just can't extricate himself from that situation often enough. He has just won 4 out of 17 points on his second serve tonight, Rublev. Well, he's frustrated, and understandably so, but he's limited out here against somebody like Djokovic, who is now a 7-5-2 up. So what was Fitzy's? You got Rocket, you've got Muscles, you know, you've got some sort of body part. What was Fitzy's?
He was the Cockaleachy Kid. It's from a small town in South Australia called Cockaleachy, I think population 3.
Yep.
And yeah, they got rid of Fitzy. He went and travelled the world, but he was the
other two must
kid.
have been pretty decent practice partners.
Yeah, that was his mum and dad. That was
that wasn't 3,000 he was talking about. It was 3.
Did you see Rublev just give it to his coach at the end of that? So he fired a double fault by 3 feet long and turned and shouted at his coach. I'm just not quite sure how it's the coach's fault.
Quickly, please.
It's a little bit of a blight on the game how these players turn on their coaching staff.
Well, you always love to hear people talk about having a plan B, C, D, E. Might be getting down to the Cambodian alphabet tonight. I think if you're Rublev, they have 74 characters, the most in any language, and that is the language of frustration that he is echoing throughout the Rod Laver Arena tonight. You have got to come with an awful lot against Novak, and he doesn't seem to have enough.
Take your seats quickly, please. Thank you.
Gee, he's got to be careful. He might pop a vein there if he's... But you can understand the frustration, and at least he's into it. At least he's giving it everything he's got.
15 love.
And at the end of the day, look at the scoreline. Incredible.
Yeah, and the problem when you get that frustrated and it boils over into that sort of situation, the changeover isn't probably enough to get yourself back to neutral and engaged again.
$30-15.
Again, that's serving to the forehand side.
40-15.
For many, they would steer clear of Rublev's forehand. Not for Novak. He's angled the majority of his attack into it, and it's worked out very nicely. A couple of set points for a 2 sets to love lead. Rublev dropping the hammer.
40-30.
That may be the hardest a forehand has ever been hit.
Thank you.
I think James Blake still takes that record, doesn't he? Off the return, 125 miles an hour or something.
That was 126.
Good eye test. He's restocked the ammo.
Good work. Hughes.
He's upgraded it as well.
Let's second service.
We've seen plan B.
Advantage, Rublev.
Just go harder.
I thought it was the same as plan A.
No, plan B is go harder than plan A, which is awfully hard.
You know,
Thank you.
Sometimes he's a funny guy, Wally.
Let's first service.
Interesting, Novak serving and volleying on that particular break point, yet to be broken tonight, of course. How well has he played the break points, though? He's played some of his best tennis at those moments.
Juice.
I think the only way to beat him is to hit it as hard as Andrey's hitting it and hit the lines with it. That should be easy enough.
Advantage, Djokovic. Thank you.
Third set point.
Juice.
Again, we talk about being flexible for Andrey. He's creating moments here, but I just wonder whether if he was able to go a little deeper, a little bit wider to the right. Novak serving at over 60% of the first serves out wide to that forehand side and rushing him into that wing. Yeah, that's where he went again.
Djokovic.
Well, he's just a ball of frustration, isn't he? You've got to feel for him. They say he's a great kid.
That he is. He's a great kid with a great forehand.
And now he's working on plan C. Because this, you can't hit this any better. Just inside the line at warp 10.
Please.
Well, that's an exaggeration. Warp 2 maybe.
Advantage, Djokovic. Thank you.
Symbolic of the evening so far. The Serb has been one shot better consistently.
Second sets.
And good judgment. Lands Novak 2 sets to love up in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open.
2 sets to love.
Well, it's been a good contest at the back end of the second set there. A little bit for everyone to get their teeth into. Ask the crowd, Rublev, as he saunters off the court here, perhaps in search of not just solace but also inspiration out there in terms of what's happening. Has created the same number of breakpoint opportunities as Novak, but has not been able to take them. Not through his own poor play, though, it has to be said. It has to be said that Novak coming up with some beautiful tennis on those breakpoints in that second set. And the worrying thing there, Fitzy, is really the top line for me, is like that is a great set of tennis in terms of first serves in from Rublev at good pace, and yet still coming out the wrong side of it comfortably.
Well, his first serve comes back a little bit more against Novak than anyone else, and his first serve has been really good this tournament. It's saved him in a couple of the early matches at times, and Look, he's just playing the best player in all facets of the game, really, and you know, he's doing his best. He's doing what he does well. Sometimes it's good enough. Most of the time it's not.
Well, the numbers suggested that this was what was going to unfold. He has won the last 38 matches, Novak, that he's contested in Australia. Of course, has not lost here since the round of 16 in 2018. He is seeking his 26th consecutive match win at the Australian Open, which will tie him up with Andrey Agassi as well in that regard. And he will be just a couple behind Roger Federer in terms of semi-final appearances if, as the opening couple of sets would suggest, he is going to go through to the last four here. Of course, he's only lost once from 2 sets to love up against Jürgen Melzer at Roland Garros many, many moons ago. And when you look at both these two CV, and obviously the resume from Rublev is a good one. There is no question about that with the titles that he has. But it is substantially different when it comes to majors as well. 21 already for Novak, looking to level up with his great rival.
I saw Rublev in the Players' Lounge before the match. He was playing chess, which would sort of consider chess a thinking man's game. But he doesn't approach his tennis like chess. It's really just been a flurry of activity and almost a bit of anger in some of the forehands at the back end of that second set.
Rublev,
just not sure where he goes to from here.
Thank you. Please.
We all feel the same way, Wally.
Cain love.
Fourth most match wins on tour for Rublev last year. Second best record on hard courts behind Felix Auger-Aliassime. He won 45 matches and 4 titles. Andrey winning 3 titles on hard, 37 matches.
To go against him.
Lucky and great, irresistible combination.
Well, if you're a lesser ranked player and the guy down the other end is normally too good for you, you need things to go your way.
That has just been sent back and delivered with perfection, hasn't it?
Well, his depth is incomparable to me. You know, Jimmy Connors back in the day used to hit the ball deep. That was a difficult ball to play against, but this is just so deep consistently, it's frightening.
Wait, please.
Save from Rublev. Well, it looked like checkmate, but not to be this time for Rublev.
Thank you.
But for how long? Great second serve. Surprising that Novak wasn't waiting for that one coming out there. It was slower, it was higher, And maybe there's something in there for Rublev. Again, another terrific exchange, full of vigour and variety. But sadly for Rublev, another one that goes Djokovic's way, and more pressure early on here in the third. And he's been here before.
Cain, Djokovic. New balls, please.
And sadly, he's just not as proficient up in the forecourt as perhaps he needs to be against somebody like Novak, and that is an early break for Djokovic to go up 1-love.
Pet, you were just reeling off the stats of just what Rublev has achieved. Most matches on hard court, everything that he's capable of. He's number 6 in the world. And he does one thing so well, and I guess it's a little frustrating because this is a guy that's been to a quarterfinal, what is it, 6 or 7 times. How is he going to make a breakthrough against the guys ranked ahead of him? It's just funny to think that he just doesn't spend a little bit more time on some subtleties in the game. I haven't seen him hit one high, heavy forehand. I just saw that one kick serve at 1-2-4 where he really tossed it up and let the wind do the work for him. And then you look at a forehand volley like that, you know, how many forehand volleys does he hit during the course of a practice in a week? You know, these are just some little things that can make him maybe take him to that next level.
I agree. You've got to go out on the court and practice them, get coached them.
Well, you saw the graphics there, guys. He's not even as good in hitting his backhand to good depth. So you talk about the finer details that he needs to do, the subtleties, but we're talking about the bread and butter. And Novak's, you know, almost 50% better at keeping his backhand to a better length. Boys, just touched the line there.
Novak thought it was out, but it must have touched it. But he's hit a couple of high forehand volleys, and they haven't looked competent enough. So that's, you know, maybe 3 or 4 balls in a match. Go out and practice that one. There has to be. Hey, it's okay for us to say he's ranked higher than any of us were, but to get better, I think he's got to have a bit more versatility. I agree with Wally. And you can't get it unless you practice it.
30.
That's an amazing serve, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, he is playing against a phenomenon, and every time we commentate one of Novak's matches, we run out of superlatives. So we're not trying to criticise anyone. I'm just saying that I think Andrey could be better if he had more versatility. He hits the same ball over and over a lot of the time, and he hits it awfully well, but what if it comes back?
Again, there the differential between the two. Novak, who's dropped one in, as we saw earlier in the match, at 191 Ks on his second serve. That one coming in at 176.
Thank you.
Fastest second serve that Rublev's hit tonight, 159. Differential between his quickest and slowest, not that great.
Cain, Djokovic.
And the other area that's obviously hugely different is in terms of first serves as well, not just in terms of the aces tonight, with just 1 for Rublev and 10 for Novak, but the unreturned serves, 45% for Djokovic, just 19% for Rublev. It's going to make your life a lot easier.
Players are ready. Thank you.
is going to be over quickly now, Wally. I think he's thrown everything he possibly can in his repertoire and in his mindset. It hasn't worked so far, really, and this could disappear quickly if into the distance if he's not careful.
Love 13. (15-13).
Second ace of the night, and the crowd desperate for Rublev to keep fighting, and he is responding. Goodness me.
30-14.
How has he got that? Rublev was inside the baseline expecting something short. He should have known better.
Juice. Let for service. Advantage Rublev. Please.
Done very well there. Novak just limped a little bit at the end of that particular stretch. A rousing reception there for Rublev as he takes his first game of this third set.
By 2-1.
Well, there was a ferocious forehand, Wally, and Novak stretched out pretty wide there. He looked as though he was walking a little tenderly back to his chair.
Yeah, he was definitely had a bit of a hitch in his stride. He was a little bit proppy on the way back, but I don't know, we've seen that from time to time, haven't we, where maybe he just feels a little bit of a tweak at end range, but here it is in slow-mo. So big lunge with that left leg.
And that's one of the things I've been impressed with, Wally, with Novak, his ability to also in that moment not put his left leg out like we're so used to with him hitting the open stance. And you can see there, even though he tried to protect his left leg, he still tweaked to the touch.
Yeah, no, he does that. He's crossed over with the right leg. He's virtually had his back to the net to protect his leg. Still seems to find the middle of his racket.
Time.
Well, just stretching out the hamstring. He has kept himself in tip-top shape since he turned 30. Of course, 9 major titles coming Novak's way, and there'd be very few betting right now, apart from the slight drama around the hamstring at the moment, that he won't be adding a 10th one to his tally after turning 30. 4 Wimbledons, 3 Australians, a French and a US Open.
Please.
Well, despite the scoreline, and you said it, you know, all Andrey can do now is just hang around, just do his absolute best to hang on to his serve, and you just never know in tennis. Just got to fight.
You can have a fair idea.
Fastest serve of the night from Novak at 2:04, quickly followed by a 2:01. Throwing his arm at the ball here.
Dirty love. Team.
Well, again, we've harped on about it, but it is an interesting feature of the match, just the quality of the second serve from Novak. Look at what he's given him. Look at this differential. Rublev with almost the same in terms of slowest, but much quicker average from Novak, and a much quicker average tonight from Novak than in his previous rounds, which just again shows you what he's thinking. And then huge speed on the fastest. And it just keeps an opponent off balance, doesn't it? I mean, you can't cheat in to take the slower serve because you're worried about something coming at 190, whereas Novak isn't worried, and he's also not really worried about placement as well on the second serve.
Well, if he's confident enough not to miss it, then it's a no-lose situation for him.
But how many players could execute that?
Yeah.
How many players can hit a 191 second serve at his height?
Ben Shelton.
Hitting love.
It was born out of data. I mean, at the end of the day, Novak looked at his data a number of years ago and realized that the kicker out wide on the ad side, he was losing more points than he was almost winning with it. And so that's why he changed it. And you look at Rublev's patterns, and we highlighted them before the match even started tonight on his second serve, and you kind of knew it was a battle that Novak would win if he didn't change it up, and he hasn't yet. It's a big lesson for him to take away from tonight.
But Petch, you're sort of assuming that for someone to change what they do, that they are preparing themselves for anything on the practice court. And I'm just not sure Rublev is.
Nobody does that better. That sequence of shots, nobody.
40-30.
Rublev doing his best to try and contain Djokovic here. And he does so for a second game in this third set. But it's a long, hard trudge towards the chair for Rublev. He's got to figure out a way to break Djokovic for the first time tonight. Actually feasible for Novak to get through to the semis here, having been broken just 3 times in the tournament. I didn't get out of opening sets with the same number. It's crazy. Now, he hasn't played Tommy Paul, Novak Djokovic, and that's who he will be taking on in the semi-final. The Americans, who are going to have 10 players ranked inside the world's top 50 next week, have got one of their own through to the last 4 here. And that may just be a help for Tommy Paul early on, that Novak hasn't played him. But the form that we've seen in the last couple of rounds here from Novak at the moment has been quite exceptional.
Time.
Good to see that there's a good young group of Americans coming through, isn't it? The game needs them, in my opinion. It's a global sport. It's a big sport. It's a great market in the US, and it's always been a traditionally strong tennis nation.
Thank you.
There's the statue, and there's the real man.
Well, I'm sure Novak takes those words to heart. He's just one of 5 players in the Open era, Novak, with 300+ weeks as the world #1 ranked player. Steffi Graf, Serena Williams, Martina Navratilova, and Roger Federer. Getting ever closer to Graf's record of 377 weeks as world #1 as well. Currently sitting at 373 as the great Serb.
Pitino.
That's the serve I think he's been burnt with too often tonight. And again, we talk about flexibility, being pliable with your thought process. Go back deep, move out to the right, take that serve away, force Novak to hit the tee serve. He probably will, but you can't keep getting beaten with that serve out wide. He's picked up just 11 points out of 49 against the first serve of Novak tonight. I thought you were a bit slow on the movement there, Wally. Left arm went out. You were a long way away from it.
Yeah, I was just anticipating a deflection off the camera stand there. I see things 3 steps ahead, Pitch.
A bit like the man that's winning this match at the moment.
Yes. I think he's put himself in the same category.
Is the dagger.
Djokovic leads by 4 games to 2.
Having said that, the pickup on the backhand side from the Rublev forehand was extraordinary.
Thank you. Love team. Coutinho.
It's his favourite, I think.
As we've been saying, looking for his 26th consecutive win here at the Australian Open. Would tie his former coach, Andrey Rublev.
Wonderful smash. And as Wally said, all he can do, all he can possibly do is keep trying to accumulate as many points as possible. What else can a man do? And this smash is rather impressive. From way back deep, it was high, and he hammered that.
Cain.
Well done, Andre.
That's what they want to see. Heart, desire, and passion.
Djokovic,
and he brings that in abundance, does Rublev. Has he got enough game, though, to turn things around?
Boys, as an aside, and slightly off topic, but does Rublev have any resemblance to that British actor Damien Lewis? Has that ever been discussed?
I can see that. I'll give you that one.
Okay. Just sitting opposite him here, I'm just sort of thinking there's a little bit of Damien Lewis about him.
That was an aside. I like that. Where are we going next?
You never know with Wally.
I've heard that about him. This one looks as though it's going this man's way.
It's like an inevitable feeling surrounding everybody here, isn't it? Including the players. Inevitability.
Well, there's been no greater Mr. Sunday in Melbourne than Novak Djokovic. He will, in a couple of games perhaps, certainly be back here on Friday to take on Tommy Paul. Just got a little bit of tidying up to do here. He's done the majority of the work.
Thank you. Ready for play.
That young kid may have had his hands up, but this man has been hands down the best player out here. And he looks as though he's timing his run to perfection as well at this Grand Slam. That was nice.
Nonchalant. Yeah. Pretty confident too.
And Fitzy, you're right. Use that word nonchalant. I'm just Novak's, this is not taking anything out of Novak, this match. It's amazing how within himself he is.
He's been appropriately aggressive, hasn't he, all the way through. You said it the other night, Wally, as well. There's so much stillness through the motion of his shots as well.
But you talk about data informing you. You know, there was that wide serve again, Petch. I mean, that's just been... It's been a little too easy for Novak, hasn't it?
Correct. And if Rublev had a good block forehand, you wouldn't mind him staying there, but he doesn't.
Well, he went back to the kick serve wide, lost the point. You'll probably see 195 next time. Even small nuances like that, Wally. I mean, Andrey, he moves forward and he rolls the ball across court where he's got no protection for the next shot. I mean, there's small things, but it seems like he could learn more and be better to me. But he's playing against the best.
Yeah, and I'm just watching that drop shot. And the moment it comes off his racket, I'm thinking, that's perfect. And it was.
Thank you.
That was what? Sorry?
Perfect.
Yep.
Dirty love. Love.
When you see a shot like that, you actually know he's playing within himself, which is a really scary thought.
Thank you. Game.
One last throw of the dice for Andrey Rublev at this year's Australian Open. Rod Laver nods his head at the effort that Rublev's put in there. Djokovic, though, will serve for a place in the semis. Just having a look at Novak's record actually at majors for players ranked 6 and down, so 6 through to 10 against top teners. 26 wins, 7 losses, and some of those losses coming against players that have either won a Grand Slam, been in a final. Just Mario Ancip's the only one in 2006. I mean, that's how far we have to go back to see him lose to somebody that hasn't been in a final or won one. There's the 38 Masters 1000s, smiley faces as well, of course, just for good measure. He's won them all twice. He's won all the majors twice, just for good measure. Just 4 players have managed to do that in their careers. No one else has won all Masters 1000s once, let alone twice. And only losing to Thiem and Wawrinka and Roddick when they were between 6 and 10. Well, there's been another virtuoso performance here from Novak Djokovic at Melbourne on the Rod Laver Arena. He's played his best tennis, he says, over the course of his career here. The 9 titles will be testament to that.
Thank you. Players are ready. Quiet, please.
It's like shelling peas, isn't it?
Ladies for service.
That's an interesting reaction as well, isn't it? Because he obviously feels as though he hasn't hit that serve particularly well tonight.
Yeah, with the wind. Yeah. With the wind, with the ball dropping sort of on top of his head or in front of him, too low, not being able to get over the high part of the net. It's frustrated him.
Please, the players are here for you. Please respect them. Thank you.
Nice turn of phrase there from James. Forehand just isn't able to because of the class, the quality, the precision.
Thank you.
The execution of a game plan on full display tonight.
Already.
3 match points.
Djokovic. 3 sets to love. 6-1, 6-2, 6-4.
Novak through to the last 4, and you won't find too many here in Melbourne who don't believe Novak won't be the last man standing come Sunday. Simply flawless.
Well, he has an ability to make world-class players look reasonably average. And sometimes, you know, he does it with such ease. Seems like he's in second gear. I mean, this guy is number 6 in the world. And sometimes you just know, I guess, that matchups and certain players are too good, and tonight that was the case. He's a heck of a player, this young man. He's only 25 years of age.
And he's given us one of the memories of the tournament with his match with Holger Rune as well, that finished on a net cord. Tommy Paul, a man that finished his previous match, not the one against Ben Shelton, with a net cord against Batista Agut as well, and that will be Novak's opponent in the semi-final. But it is a 10th semi-final appearance here for Djokovic. It's a special place, and he is a special player.
Sometimes I think when you commentate him, I'm not sure about you guys, but it just feels like you have to repeat yourself, because the same vocabulary comes through your head. You know, the same superlatives. He doesn't often give you much latitude to really critique, and who are we to critique in the end when you're this good? It seems like you go through the same motions time and time again, and he's able to replicate. It's incredible he can keep the level that high for that long. It's because he's that good.
Novak, we were here 2 nights ago, and you said that match 2 nights ago against Alex de Minaur was the best match you've played this year. Was this one even better?
I would rank it as number 2, but very close to the performance of 2 nights ago. Yeah, I cannot be happier with my tennis. Honestly, I've been playing very solid from back of the court, and really love playing in these conditions in this court. I've said it many times, you know, I love playing here. Definitely the most special court for me.
How about the conditions tonight, which were a little different? You played here just about as much as anyone. This is pretty breezy. I can feel it now. It's a lot of wind down here. How was that to play, and did you have to make adjustments for this breeze?
Yes, you have to make adjustments and adapt to the conditions. Obviously, it wasn't as breezy. I think around 6 o'clock when I was warming up, and you know, all of a sudden it just started at the beginning of the match, especially from this end. You know, you have a strong wind in your back. Maybe for the people watching on the stands or on TV, they don't see much of a difference, but for us players, it makes a huge difference. You know, if you're playing on that end, you're playing with a lot of pressure, and you have to kind of pick and choose your shots, maybe open up the court a little bit more. The ball toss is a little bit of a gamble from this side, but you know, overall, I think that the score line in the first 2 sets doesn't speak the truth or the reality of the match. You know, it was some really close games that we had. Andrey is a great opponent. He's a great player. I have tons of respect for him. You know, one of the biggest forehands, one of the quickest players on the tour. You know, I knew what the game plan was. Obviously, you know, one thing is to imagine how you want to play, and the other thing is to execute it on the court. But I think if I have to sum it up, all the important shots and important moments, I found my best tennis. So that's what makes me, I guess, the most pleased tonight.
We know coming into this tournament there were some days when you weren't able to practice. You were resting and trying to protect your body. What has it been like for you routine-wise? How different have your days off been in this tournament than in past years here?
Well, to be honest, I've been connected to machines more than I have been connected to anybody else or my bed or anything else really in the days off. I've tried about any biofeedback machine there is in this planet in order to get my leg ready, and it worked. I'm going to keep going. So you know, I miss tennis on the days off, but at the same time I think it's important to be smart and wise, I guess, with the body in these particular circumstances where it's more important to recover and get ready for next challenge.
Well, it's been incredible to watch you reach your 10th semifinal, given all the circumstances. And if I'm doing the math right, let's see, 9 titles, this is your 10th semifinal. You're pretty good when you reach the semifinals in this tournament. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I'll try to keep on keeping good on the court. Keep on being good.
That's pretty good. You're good at it. You're going to play someone who is going to experience his very first major semifinal in Tommy Paul. You guys have never met. So you probably in the locker room you met him.
Yeah, in the locker room we met earlier today.
What are you anticipating in that matchup on Friday?
Well, obviously he doesn't have much to lose, you know, as you said, first time in his semifinals of the Grand Slam, and he's been playing some terrific tennis, I think, in the last 12 to 15 months. He's got a great coach. I know his coach. He's been on the tour for a while. So yeah, I got to be ready for that match. Obviously, mentally, you know, not approach it any way differently than I have the last couple of matches. You know, if I play this way, I think I have a good chance to go through.
Do you remember your first semifinal in a major? Do you remember who? I don't have the answer. I'm just asking. Do you remember what it was like for you to experience that?
I think it was a U.S. Open back in 2007. I was fortunate to. It seems quite a long time ago, actually now, yeah, I was fortunate to win that semifinals. But you know, in the finals, I lost to Roger, and yeah. Let's give him a big round of applause to Roger, guys. Let's go. He deserves it. I had some great battles over the years with Roger, that's for sure. You know, tennis misses him for sure. I've seen him dressing up very sharply for Fashion Week. I've seen him the other day.
Did you see him skiing also? He's been on the slopes?
Yeah, I've seen him skiing. I want to challenge him for a little skiing race in a few years' time. But yeah, he's enjoying life for sure. It's nice to see that. Obviously, for tennis, he's been one of the most important players ever to play the game. So, you know, big regards to him and his family. I would like to just say something. Today is a birthday of my physiotherapist, who is not here at the moment. He left to the locker room, but I want to say happy birthday to him and happy birthday to my mother. It was yesterday. So my mom is here. Love you, Mom. And happy birthday, dear you. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So I just want to say, obviously, parents, I talked about them a lot, how special they are in my life, but I also want to, you know, give huge credit to my physiotherapist, Miljan. He's been around for over 15 years, and he has been through hell with me this last 10 days, you know, with all the treatments and everything that he has to endure on a daily basis. From morning to night, he's with me all the time, so he deserves a huge credit, and I want to thank him. I want to say I'm very grateful to have him in the team.
Well, Novak, thank you. A great effort tonight. Let's let him hear it. Novak is into another semifinal.
As ever, a lovely, interactive, engaging interview with Jim Courier. And Novak obviously in good spirits. And it looks as though everything in his world is converging nicely as he would want it to do as he heads towards semi-finals and greater challenges ahead. I'm going to take Novak over Roger on the slopes as well.
You know.
Yes.
There's some serious talent in those two. Who would know?
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, mate. I think happy birthday to his mother. And, yeah. Families are important, Pitch. They really are.
Yes, they are. There is Eduardo that's been with him since 2009 when he was the manager for Sergio Tacchini when Novak was with them. And has stayed with him ever since. It has been quite the journey, hasn't it? one of the most unique ones of all time, as he has transformed himself not into just a contender for major titles, but a champion countless times over. And his legacy set in stone, and for many, the feeling is that he will numerically be the greatest of all time. He certainly was tonight. As we think of Rublev's game as being a power game, it is Novak who has more winners, less unforced errors, and substantially more points.
Yeah, he was better. He's a better player, as good as Andrey is, and we say that with the utmost respect. What a player Rublev is. But what do you do when you go against a man this good?
And fittingly on this court, of course, Rod Laver, and he was the one that always said you don't need to win all the points, you just need to win the right ones. And Novak's level on the 5 break points that Rublev has was exceptional tonight.
Well, he's uncanny, like great players are. Playing well at the right time. That's what sport's about. And he's in with a chance. He's never lost from this position before.
And that has to hold him in good stead. That has to be worth quite a bit as we go through this weekend. There's some big nerves for Tommy Paul. What a great opportunity for him.
No one else there has won a major, Petch.
Tsitsipas a set away, of course. Khachanov back into his second major semi-final in succession since he managed that at the US Open. That will help him, no question, but he'll have his hands full with Tsitsipas. Tonight was ultimately pretty much what we expected. It's been a great run for Rublev, but that's 7 straight quarter-final losses. Unfortunately for him, he matches Tommy Robredo, who also managed that particular stat, unable to get through to a semi-final. But he was up against a man who is on a mission here in Melbourne once again.
Flowers.